foggy today.
Hey, we are having a gray San Diego morning. It tricked me yesterday. It was gray and cool and lovely, and I got up to the barn and the sun started to peek through and it was like somebody jacked the thermostat up. It was so warm. Yeah, fell asleep on the couch until 3:30 this morning. It's all right, the couch is comfortable. I slept well. I'm struggling with adulting things right now. It's about 7:30 in the morning. I really just want to go up to the barn, but I have to do stuff for class. I need to pick up wood, should probably get stuff graded. I need to get stuff put into the computer. None of that is fun. It's just about how you use time, but I think I can get up to the store, get stuff, get home, still get up to the barn at a reasonable hour. Not that anything's reasonable or matters, you know, nobody's expecting me, but I feel good when I'm up there and I laugh a lot. And man, that's so important. You know, I took my friends out, or we went out to lunch yesterday and I laughed the whole time. The laughing yesterday was just the sheer shock of what it is like to be a teenager. Just like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not. really. But it was really fun. They cracked me up. That tricky sun is starting to poke its head out and the temperature is coming up. I do love it here. It's a great city. The people are great. The weather is, you know, I lived in New England for a long time. I'm from New York. I lived in New England. I like the idea of autumn, you know, when the days get a little cool and you know, the leaves change. It is romantic. It is lovely in its own right. But what it represents is winter's coming. It's gonna get cold. There's no daylight. It's freaking cold and icy and you have to bundle up when you go out, which is novel. Like, I like putting on warm clothes. Bundling up every now and again is fun, but winter can be so long. A year like this where I'm kind of sad all the time anyway? No, I don't want to be a shut-in in the wintry darkness. That's why I love it here. Yeah, it gets cool in the winter, but it doesn't snow. I know where to find snow. Like, if I drive that way 2 hours, there'll be snow. I can snowboard. That, I like it. Snow at arm's length, that is so perfect. If I drive that way, 8 minutes, the ocean, even better. God, I love it here. When people have been like, oh, you broke up, or are you gonna move back east? No! So long as I'm employed and I can find a way to live here, no. I am not moving back. Let me gas up the car. I'll be back, and then we'll go on an adventure. So you're probably like, all right, Ken, what is this adventure you're taking us on? We are going to travel to Lowe's and buy 2x4s. Because what else did you want to do Sunday morning at 8 a.m.? That's some of the fun adulting we have to do. We have to get stuff for school this week. So at lunch, actually it wasn't at lunch, it was during the day. Two of my barn friends, they just kind of came out and asked it. They were like, so are you married? And I just didn't feel like lying. So I said, I'm on my way to not being. Yeah. I said, I'm on my way to not being, meaning on my way to not being married. And they're like, oh, did you cheat? And I was like, oh my God. So I said, no, I didn't cheat. And then they said, did she? And I said, yeah. And they're like, with who? And I was like, I can't talk about it. And they immediately started guessing people at the barn. They were like, with Carlos? And I was like, no. And they went through most of the men that are at the barn. And I just kept being like, no. And they're like, well, who is it? And I was like, I can't talk about it. Which of course frustrates them because they want to know everything immediately. They're like, why won't you tell us? And I was like, I can't talk about it right now. I said, in time, you will know. I said, I just can't talk about it. And they're like, everyone says that. I'm like, because it's true. I think slowly through process of elimination, they started to get it because they kind of went in order of attractiveness. So they're like, is it Joseph? And I was like, no. And all these people. And then at one point, they were like, is it that other dressage guy? He was pretty far down the list. And I didn't answer. I just didn't say no. And they were like, you didn't say no. I was like, I know I didn't say no, but I can't talk about it. So I don't know if they read between the lines or not, but I like the fact that he wasn't high on the list of cheatable men at the barn. I'm trying to look for silver linings all over the place, and I like that one. But they are merciless. You know, I mean, they make fun of each other hard about school stuff and dyslexia. They're harsh with each other, and they found something they can make fun of me for on that harsh level. And damn, which is really interesting. You know, one would say something and then the other one would be like, too soon. And I'd be like, yeah, it's a little soon. But they didn't stop. But it didn't break me. You know, everybody in my life who talks to me is incredibly kind. Like, the kindness and love I have received has helped me get here. And these two people, you know, they're my barn friend. It's a different kind of relationship. And they're the they're the first people who are approaching this from a different light. They're young. They've never been married. They probably haven't experienced heartache like this. It's like when a boyfriend cheats on a girlfriend. And I don't love it. It's not a great feeling. But with a little bit of effort on my part, I can change the context and the framing of it. And it is that. It is somebody who just doesn't want somebody else anymore and cheated on them. And then, you know, broke up a marriage and all the other stuff. But it is basically what it is. And I think about the timing of it all. This conversation couldn't have happened 2 months ago. You know, when I met them over the summer, 2 months ago, that conversation would have drilled into my heart and wrecked me. You know, I probably could have put up a good face, but under the surface, I would have been not shattered, but I would have been hurt. And it stung a little bit yesterday. But I think some good came out of that. I think in terms of getting healthy, of being a normal person again, and this is so weird to say, but getting made fun of for being cheated on might have helped me a little bit, just in terms of like healing. Is that insane? Because it was unapologetic. It was just like, I can't even come up with a good example, but something would get said and they'd be like, oh, you know, like your wife. And I was just like, holy shit. And it wasn't like ruthless. It wasn't like, ha, screw you, Ken. It was more banter. It was more, I don't know, like being witty or just back and forth. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. It's you, me, and 8 feet of 2x4s in the car. Should be fine. Remember learning about potential energy and kinetic energy? There's that potential energy bump you have to get over before you can get into the kinetic energy. I feel like that a lot. I think about that a lot too. When I'm at rest, like if I'm just at home, it takes a lot for me to like get up and go. But once I'm out, like once I've closed the door and gotten in the car, like boom, I can get stuff done. I love being productive. I love being on the move. It's just that that impulse to get out and do it. Yeah, now that we're going, it's gonna be fine. I'm happy. I feel all right. In the moment, in the present moment right now, I feel good. I know looming outside the moment are things that have to be dealt with that are unpleasant. But in the moment, it's good. It's sort of like being around a campfire. For as far as the light of the fire casts, I'm all right. In the dark just outside, there are things looming. Dividing up the house, getting divorced, you know, and the ugliness that will come with that. In the moment, those things don't feel as scary. Maybe as time goes on, I feel vaguely okay. And maybe I'm deceiving myself a little bit. You know, I don't know how I will be totally okay. I think I'm living beyond my means a little bit right now in terms of spending money on gas and spending money on horse lessons. I don't buy a lot of groceries. I don't buy... Yeah, the things outside the campfire are unknown and a little shadowy, but less scary than they were. Knowing that she's starting work in San Francisco on October 1, in less than a month, is big. It's really, really big. I can breathe. Or I can hold my breath until October 1st when I can breathe. It's so weird that I have that sentiment about somebody that I've been so passionate about for so long. The person I thought was the great love of my life. So what does that do? Does that open up room for the possibility of somebody who could actually be the great love of my life? That's kind of a nice reframing. If I was with somebody who could do to me what she did to me, then maybe that means she wasn't really what I thought she was. So the place she holds in my heart can be filled by somebody more genuine. It's very strange. Because I was definitely all in love with her, all of that. And I don't really know at this point what she was. It doesn't make sense that if she was what she claimed to be, soulmate, like love me, all that great stuff, if that was all true, that she could then flip and shut me off and also just really dislike me in the way she seems to dislike me right now. I think it's unnatural for it to just shut off, which makes me question everything. And that's the heartbreak of it. Having to review the facts of your whole relationship and think, oh, how wrong was I? And my doubt comes in terms of, the metric I'm measuring it by. I'm measuring it by my standard. By my standards, if you love somebody for a long time, it doesn't just shut off. It can't just shut off, because that's how I am. And that's how she spoke to me. Those were sentiments that were expressed. So I believed her to be that way based on her representation of that. But her words and actions are different. I like that idea. I'm glad we got to that point this morning. If I thought she was my soulmate, if I thought she was the love of my life and she wasn't, that means so you're saying there's a chance? Yeah, there's a chance that I could meet somebody who is that. And I'm not gonna say that's thrilling, but it's heartening. I know there's always second chances and third chances. Everyone's like, oh, you're young enough where you could get married, you could have a family. True, you can hear things over and over again, but when you have those realizations, that's when it becomes potent. When at the right time you make sense of things in a way that makes the most sense to you, that's when the good stuff happens. And I feel like that's what's happening now. Like I'm finally starting to realize, even though everyone's been telling me it wasn't as good as I thought it was, and that I've dodged a bullet, and in the end, I'll realize I'm lucky. I think that my skull is pretty thick. I think it's starting to drill through. Sorry about the dirty windshield. Well, that was one of the most positive store experiences I've had. One, I went to Panera and I'm wearing my riding clothes. The woman behind the counter was talking to me about horses, and when I went down to fill up the drinks, a woman down there was like, I like your boots. And I was like, oh, thanks. And she asked if I ride horses, and we talked about that, and that was cool. And then I sat down to wait for my food, and this guy sat down next to me and asked if I ride horses, and I said, yeah. I said, how great it is. And then I was like, what have you been up to? And he's like, actually, I've been packing. And I said, oh, are you moving? And he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to move back to the East Coast, either Charlotte or Brooklyn. And I was like, whoa, that's two very different places. He's like, I know, I lived in Brooklyn for 20 years. I might try something different. And I thought, wow. So he's like, we just had this, we fell into a conversation. He's like, oh, my wife's heading to London for a month. We're putting our stuff in storage. I'm just going to drive and see where I end up. And I thought, that is really awesome. I kind of wanted to ask him, what kind of job do you do where you can just drive anywhere? I think that's a longer conversation, but how cool would that be? To be at a point in your life where you're like, I'm just going to change. I'm just going to up and move to a place that seems cool, and I'm going to be totally fine. That's probably strange coming from the guy whose wife decided she just wanted to change and up and changed and is moving. As a unit, as a partnership, wouldn't that be interesting to be able to to have the sort of financial freedom, I guess, to be able to do that? I know I have a very unique job that is not plentiful out there in the world. I live in paradise. So while I might be able to find a version of my job out there, I don't think it's going to be as cool as the one I have now. So I'm not in any hurry to leave or change. I mean, I was talking about this yesterday or today. I can't remember. I love it here. I love it here. It's funny how sometimes you can feel so isolated and alone. And then a day like today, people approached me. I'm friendly and smiley and everything, but for some reason today, people chose to talk to me. And that was neat. I really like that. Oh. Hey, buddy. Hi, are you excited? You excited for dinner? I know I should be going home and getting work done, but when you've got these cuddly guys here, why would I want to go home? You know, to create safety tests and put paperwork in the computer. This is so much better. This is, don't nibble my shirt. This is why I love it here, because of moments like this where the car's right over there, but I don't want to get in it. I just want to pet this guy. He's so sweet. He's the best. Anyway, I hope you've had a great Sunday. I've had a lovely day with good people, and this cuddly horse. And yeah, I'll see you from the car, I'm sure. Oh, that was interesting. So I stayed and pet some horses, and it was nice and friendly. And then I was talking to people, and then one of the newer people I've met recently who's very nice, we were talking about this and that and watching Breaking Bad and some, like, we were talking about a whole bunch of things. And I can't remember how it came up, but I was like, so you know my story, right? And she's like, I didn't, you know, like, I know you had a wife. And I said, yeah, she fell in love with her trainer, and that was, and she's like, oh! So she's a little looped into the story now. But what she told me, or what I heard that was interesting, was that he drove onto the property today in his truck and then looped around and left. I like to hear that. I like to hear that he doesn't stay around when he sees me there. It's almost like a meditation. You know, just to be there and to be part of whatever comes and whatever conversation there is or whatever people are around, or just to sit and listen to people who know more than you talk about things that you don't know about. And then people left and I was petting horses, and it felt great. It felt really, really wonderful. And I'm going home now, and it's early enough where I'll be productive. The day has felt full. I feel good. Oh, that's how she and I got to talking about it. She asked about me living downtown or finding a new place to live, and I said my condo is selling, and then, you know, talked about the things selling because of things that we know. She just didn't know until now. And it's really tricky because it's such a rich story with so many twists and odd turns that it's hard to tell somebody in soundbite. You know, it's hard to tell the story briefly. You know, and if I'm in a positive mood, it sounds like I'm making light of it, but I don't want to make light of it because there's nothing light about this. It's hard to capture the mania of the whole thing without some time and investment on the part of the listener. What I liked about her was that when I was talking about him, she's like, well, he's no tall drink of water. I was like, I know! I'd like to tell you I'm more sophisticated than to enjoy when people don't speak kindly of him, but I'm not. She was telling me a little bit about, like, Ed Arroyo after he broke up with his girlfriend, the sort of shitstorm that came down just in terms of if his ex-girlfriend was in an arena, he wasn't allowed to be in there with her, which makes sense. He sucks. Why would you want him around if you're trying to train? I guess I don't have too much more to say right now. I'm just kind of like, I'm in a moment. You know, I'm kind of holding, waiting for whatever happens. I need to initiate the next steps with dividing up our stuff. She's waiting on me to sign her quitclaim, which I will do if I hear back from my attorney and he says I can. Then I guess the divorce process will take as long as it takes. I rode with my crew of people today. We all wore our corgi belts, and it was less silly than other days. It was more productive. A community of people and feeling included in a group is good. All right, thanks.